Good evening. You may be seated. The Honorable Mia Motley, Prime Minister, Honorable India Weir, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, members of the Cabinet of Barbados, Mr. Terry Bascom, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, other Permanent Secretaries, Mr. Lennox Chandler, Chief Agricultural Officer, Mr. Manasseh King, Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Ms. Glendine Bartlett, Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation, Mr. Anthony Wood, Chairman of the Board of Directors of the BADMC, other members of the BADMC Board, heads of departments and agencies under the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, representatives of the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, those of the Inter-American Institute for the Cooperation on Agriculture, as well as the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, staff of the Ministry of Agriculture and the BADMC, specially invited guests, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, it is my duty this evening as host, MC, to welcome you here to this, the launch of the Farmers Empowerment and Enfranchisement Drive, also known as FEED. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome our new Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Terry Bascom, who will deliver the official welcome address. Please welcome Mr. Terry Bascom.
The Honorable Mia Amar Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Indar Weir, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, other members of Cabinet, Permanent Secretaries, Chief Agriculture Officer, Mr. Manasseh King, Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Security, Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation, BADMC, Mr. Anthony Wood, Chairman of the Board of Directors of BADMC, other members of that board, heads of departments and agencies under the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Security, representatives of the FAO, the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, staff of the ministry and BADMC, specially invited guests, media representatives, ladies and gentlemen. It is a sense of immense pride and pleasure that I welcome each of you here this evening to launch the Farmers Empowerment and Enfranchisement Drive, known as the FEED program. Today marks my first day in the role of Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. However, I must say that I am particularly heartened by what was clearly hard work and commitment by the staff of the ministry and BADMC in ensuring that the FEED program became a reality. When we reflect on the word feed, it conjures up images of providing safe food and nourishment, which, when combined, provides a conduit for growth. Intuitively, this growth can be manifested in various forms through the expansion of the agricultural and agribusiness sector, the expansion of the economy, or even the development of a healthier nation. Moreover, deeply embedded in the acronym FEED, are two colossal but stimulating words. Those words are empowerment and enfranchisement. When we speak of empowerment, we are communicating a process of becoming stronger, more confident, and taking control of one's life and one's destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, it is no secret, and recent history has shown that this small nation is not immune to global economic shocks. Indeed, following the devastating world recession that began in the late 2000s, where several world economies were negatively impacted, Barbados's heavy reliance on international business and tourism was cruelly exposed. This led to a rapid decline in our foreign reserves. Furthermore, global food prices have been steadily rising since 2008, and as such, it has become increasingly expensive for countries, including Barbados, which rely heavily on imported foods. In this regard, we are targeting the reduction of our food import bill by introducing the concept of grow what we eat and eating what we grow. It is with such alarming evidence that a robust rejuvenation of the agricultural sector is required. As you know, last year this ministry was renamed the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. But what is food security? In a broad sense, according to the United Nations World Food Programme, food security can be defined as having the availability and adequate access at all times to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food in order to maintain a healthy and active life. Inasmuch, food security for Barbados has become critical, since we can no longer continue to rely on other people in other parts of the world to grow and produce our food for us. For not only are we spending huge sums of valuable foreign currency on the importation of foods which can be grown right here, but the heavy dependence of Barbados on a wide range of imported foods have resulted in the country being assigned the status of a net food importing developing country. Additionally, Barbados is currently experiencing rapid nutritional and epidemiological transitions. The nutritional transition has resulted in the shift from diets based on indigenous and culturally notable staples like cassava, breadfruit, sweet potatoes, vegetables, and legumes, to energy-dense diets comprising more processed foods, animal-rich products that are high in fat and salt, and beverages with higher percentages of added sugars. From the epidemiological perspective, the changing food consumption patterns and dependence on food imports have resulted in morbid levels of diet-related illnesses and chronic non-communicable diseases, CNCDs, within the population. In view of this, I am happy to say that the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security has intensified its efforts to ensure that we are on a steady path towards food and nutritional security and a healthy nation. The Farmers' Empowerment and Enfranchisement Drive represents a giant step along this path. I want to take this opportunity, therefore, to thank all those persons who worked behind the scenes in bringing this program to fruition. To the many young men and women who have enrolled in the program, I congratulate you on your entrepreneurial spirit as you strive to become more empowered and enfranchised citizens. Once again, a hearty welcome to all, and continue to have a pleasant evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
We want to thank our newest member of staff to the Ministry of Agriculture, Permanent Secretary, Mr. Terry Baskin. And as you can see, he's already sweating, he's already in the hot seat. Literally, figuratively. I'm going to invite now the chairman of the BADMC, Mr. Anthony Wood, who will deliver some remarks on behalf of that corporation. Mr. Anthony Wood.
Good evening to one and all. Mayor Amar Motley, Prime Minister of our beloved nation, Minister Indoor, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, members of the Cabinet, specially invited guests, especially those who represent regional or international organizations that provide technical assistance to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, the new Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Terry Bascom, my fellow members of the board at BADMC, management of BADMC, members of the press, and all other specially invited guests. It gives me great pleasure as the chairman of the board of directors to come and address you for a short time on the launching of a program that we at the board of directors level give our full support to. I'm not going to speak about the details of the program, but what I'm going to do is to just signal to you all in a very serious way the level of commitment and seriousness that the board of directors has already attached to this program. We're going to ensure via very meticulous planning. And we've had many discussions, even though the launch is now here officially. But we've had many discussions on this program. And I really want to give my personally full support to this program, recognizing, as Terry said, the role agriculture can play in the resuscitation of this Barbadian economy. And when I understand how important this program can be, it takes me back to, well, more than 10 years ago, when the Ministry of Agriculture had to launch a program, and this could be seen as a sequel to that program which was launched way back then when we had another BLP Prime Minister. And it was the Land for the Landless program, because we understood the importance of dealing with that mismatch between the desire of willing and capable farmers for land and their lack of access to land. That program was treated with high seriousness, and we even had a project director to run that Land for the Landless program. And we're back at this moment in time. The difference is that at this time, this program has to be given a lot more seriousness, given the state of affairs in the economy and the need for this administration to engender some life in the economy. So that at the level of the board of directors, we're going to give this our best effort. We've already discussed how best we could implement the program. We've already discussed the need for activity in the program to come up to the board in an organized way via a reporting framework. We've had discussions with the senior staff at the Ministry of Agriculture as to how we could engender a seamless relationship so as to ensure that this program isn't held up as a result of lack of timely and active consultation between BADMC and the Ministry of Agriculture. However, there are a number of factors which will have to be dealt with as the program is rolled out to ensure its ultimate success. This program will indeed lead to a significant increase in agriculture production in Barbados. But what we cannot have is that as we seek to use this program to reduce our import food bill, that the farmers and indeed BADMC will have to struggle to get the produce to market. And so as to prevent that being an issue for this program, the board has taken a decision And we will be establishing in a very formal way a marketing department within BADMC on Wednesday of this week. All the planning has been concluded for that department to be launched, and it is just a matter of getting on with the formal establishment of the program, because even today we have discussed the importance of the marketing department at BADMC to the success of this feed program. One of the other factors which will lead to the success of this feed program is access to training by the farmers, and it is BADMC's commitment in dealing with that aspect of the feed program to ensure that the requisite training, the right interventions as it relates to training takes place for the farmers, because we don't just want to provide opportunities for farmers. We want to provide opportunities for successful business persons. And those who come into the program, they must be given all the assistance to ensure that they can see themselves as being empowered and being enfranchised so as to develop for themselves sustainable livelihoods through involvement in this feed program. One of the other factors that will determine the success of this program is access to financing. It is good that this program has a dedicated line of financing, but now that I have the powers that be here, I just need to send a soft word to them that the timely release of the financing for the program is one of the key factors that could prevent the holder of the program. In that regard, another factor that could cause some problems for the farmers in the program is lack of access to water, irrigation water. So it's no secret that a program like this would need a building out of our irrigation infrastructure so that the farmers can have access to a more ready availability of water. And irrigation infrastructure doesn't come at a cheap price. BADMC, through its internally generated funds, will not be able to fund such projects. So I'm happy to realize that monies for such projects are built into the feed program. But the timely release of the funding would indeed be extremely important so that BADMC's officers could press on with its water augmentation efforts so that the farmers would not be held up. I've been given a short time to speak, so I'm going to conclude soon. But just to remind you folks that the board of BADMC stands ready and indeed willing to ensure that the most meticulous of planning and implementation is made available to this program. We understand the signal importance of this program in the context of what the administration is trying to do. We have taken a decision that first call on the lands that will be assigned will go to persons who have been retrenched. They will be trained up to the appropriate level to give them confidence in farming activity, because we know that as they seek to develop sustainable livelihoods from this program, that a signal can indeed be sent to others about the importance of being self-employed and building confidence in oneself to make whatever venture you go into as a self-employed person successful. So I want to thank the government of the day, headed by Mayor Amar Motley, for conceptualizing this program. I want to thank Minister Weir. As I tell the folks at BADMC all the time, adversity brings out the best in those who have strong thinking capacity, but it easily floors those who are weak and don't want to push back. We have to push back with this program. As I said, it's a flagship program of the ministry, and I'm happy that BADMC is indeed given the opportunity to contribute at the level of implementation of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
That was Chairman of the BADMC, Mr. Anthony Wood. And for such a tall man, I'm very happy that he kept it short. Okay, so you would have heard about the feed program. I'm going to invite Dr. Jamichael Antwele from the BADMC, who will now give you an overview of the feed program. Please welcome Dr. Antwele.
The Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Mia Moore-Motley, the Minister, all right, we'll do this again. The Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Mia Moore-Motley, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, the Honorable Indar Weir, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Mr. Terry Bascom, other Permanent Secretaries who are present, the Chief Agricultural Officer, Mr. Lennox Chandler, Mr. Anthony Wood, the Chairman of the Board of the BADMC, the CEO of the BADMC, Ms. Glendine Bartlett, other board members, members of staff of the Ministry of Agriculture and the BADMC, the honorable members of Parliament who are present, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Dr. Jamichael Antwele, Manager of the Agricultural Services Division at the BADMC, and it's my pleasure this evening to present a brief summary. I was told to be brief as well. Right? A brief summary and overview of the feed program, right, to give a bit more insight into its main components and to highlight the major objectives of this project. All right, so what is this feed program, or simply known as feed? All right, and we have been hearing this acronym being thrown around for the past several months, but what exactly does it represent? And we have seen from the lovely logo for the feed program, that FEED stands for the Farmers Empowerment and Enfranchisement Drive. And it is an initiative of the government of Barbados through the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, intended to act as a catalyst for the further and future development of the agricultural sector on the island. This program will be executed over a 3-year period, officially commencing today, so in May 2019. And over this 3-year period, the Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation, the BADMC, will be responsible for the planning, implementation, execution, and management of feed. Now, this program will focus on several key objectives. Feed is expected to decrease the island's food import bill through increased and consistent production. It will look to facilitate the sustainable development of the agricultural sector through improved access to lands and inputs for agricultural production and development, and ensure long-term national food and nutrition security through improved access to safe and nutritious foods. The program will seek to target what we are terming the vulnerable groups in the society, such as youth. And when we say youth, we mean persons between the ages of 18 and 29, or maybe even younger than 18 as well, women, and unemployed and retrenched workers, but we're empowering them to become agripreneurs as small business owners. This program will also bring new technological advances to agriculture in order to improve the quality of production and mitigate the effects of climate change on the sector. Now, FEED is expected to accommodate farmers with a desire to establish agricultural enterprises in a variety of farming systems. These systems include open field production, horticulture, greenhouse farming, temperature control, container farming, livestock production, and we want to put an emphasis on the black belly sheep farming and the rabbit rain, which are the small ruminants, agroforestry, forest production, hydroponics, aquaponics, fish farming, and apiculture, or beekeeping. And that's one of the main focuses of this project as well, right? The apiculture. Now, the training of applicants will be an important component of this program. A 3-month training course subdivided into modules will be carried out in order to provide formal instruction and mentorship to all persons signing up under FEED. Each training group will comprise of 90 applicants, further subdivided into cohorts of 5 farmers per cohort. Right. And the BADMC headquarters at Fair Valley, Christchurch, along with the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security headquarters at Graham Hall, will function as the 2 main centers for this training element. And training will focus on several important areas, which you can see here on the screen, including plant nutrition, pest and disease management, soil management, animal husbandry, vertical farming systems, hydroponics, beekeeping, among many others. Formal instruction will be executed by a team of agriculture experts from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, and the BNNC will assist with this effort where needed. Once the training course is completed, the participants in each training group will be allocated to plots of agricultural land across the island. Their placement and plot size will depend on the type of production system which they will establish. For example, persons engaging in greenhouse farming will be allocated 1/4 of an acre, while those specializing in fruit tree production will be allocated up to 5 acres of land. These lands will be leased to the applicants from the BADMC at a rate of $300 per acre per year, which is equivalent to $25 a month. The land rent is expected to be paid monthly, and the BADMC has recently improved its payment system in order to make payments more convenient to the farmers. So we have now joined the Shore Pay family, meaning that the land rent and irrigation water bills can be paid at any of the more than 30 Shore Pay locations across the island, or better yet, with the aim of bringing technology to agriculture through their free online payment system, meaning that farmers can easily keep up to date with their account balances and make payments using their mobile phones, tablets, laptops, etc. Right. I must highlight that once the farmers are placed on lands, they will continue to be taught and mentored by the Ministry of Agriculture's team of qualified extension officers and officers from the BADMC as well, who will offer technical advice and assistance to farmers. Some of these officers will be equipped with handheld electronic devices, which will permit the in-field collection of production data and the real-time upload of this data to a common data collection platform. In addition, all farmers on the program will be added to the BADMC's text blast system, which will bring important agricultural-related notices and news, such as upcoming farming meetings, training workshops, seminars, conferences, even weather forecasts, etc., directly to their phones. Right. Another key component of FEED will be marketing. The BADMC's pack house located at Frey Valley will play a major role in the execution and success of this program. The pack house will act as a centralized marketing and distribution facility for the produce from FEED. A minimum of 40% of produce from the farmers will pass through the pack house, where it will be washed, graded, packaged, and distributed. In preparation for the launch of this program, the facility has already commenced supplying produce to several major retailers and hotels across the island, such as Price Mart, DV South Winds, the Crane Resort, Infinity on the Beach, in order to form relationships and secure markets in anticipation for the increased production. The BADMC has also purchased a refrigerated vehicle You can see it here on the screen. And this was done in preparation again for the eminent program, which will permit the pothouse to deliver produce to a wider range of markets while reducing the risk of spoilage during transportation and extending the shelf life of the products. Once the program is established and volumes increase, the marketing arm, which was highlighted by Mr. Anthony Wood of the BADMC, will forge ahead with the objective of increasing the number of clients and the variety of commodity items on offer. And then heading into year 2 and year 3 of this program, the export market will be a main focus or will be targeted. Now let's focus specifically now on the management of the program. It is acknowledged that the best approach for successfully implementing projects hinges on a collaborative atmosphere in which multidisciplined individuals work together to achieve targets. This cooperative environment increases productivity and ensures that resources are well managed. Noting the wide scope of feed, it is imperative that a formalized collaborative arrangement is established. These partnerships among individuals and institutions will promote effective analysis, enable knowledge transfer, and allow for timely feedback on proposed strategies. Consequently, it is our expectation that such will nurture commitment and a unison in the delivery of the project's objectives. Therefore, two committees have been established for feed. These committees are the project execution team and a steering committee. The primary focus of the project execution team will be to execute the activities of the program under the guidance of the steering committee. The key responsibilities for the project execution team would include developing policies, strategies, and facilities to support feed, preliminary screening and evaluation of applicants for interviews, provision of technical and financial support, advisory services, training, and capacity building, maintaining detailed records on feed, including production information, monitoring, evaluation, and the provision of a monthly report on the implementation of feed to the steering committee, provision of our administrative support to the steering committee. Now, the steering committee will support and monitor feed to ensure it is executed as planned. The roles and responsibilities of the steering committee will include guiding and overseeing the implementation of the program by the project execution team, preparing evaluation reports, ensuring that farmers have access to the support services and resources required at all stages of the program in order to guarantee sustainability, and the provision of recommendations on how feed can be improved by identifying any inadequacies with the program, so that changes can be made as the program progresses to ensure that the identified objectives are achieved. Now, before I conclude this overview, I must quickly state that all the stakeholders in agriculture on the island, many are present here, government, private, non-governmental institutions, need to play a major supporting role in order to guarantee the success of the program. And even after the 3-year application and placement period, this program must continue to grow and develop in the subsequent years in order to maintain its viability and sustainability. And I hope that it will receive the support that this program deserves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Antebele from the BADMC for your overview. From what you understand, even though the program is now being launched, some persons have already started, and in the past 2 weeks, you understand, close to 400 persons have expressed an interest in the program, and every day the number is growing. So you can understand where we are heading with feed. So you've heard about what is going on with feed. It is time now to hear from some of the participants, and we invite you to view a short video with 2 of the participants from feed.
As I said, it's a really great opportunity to
Feed, creating jobs and strengthening food security.
Romel Griffith. I am a retrenched worker. I'm a young farmer, and I'm part of the feed program. Really thankful for this great opportunity to take care of myself and my family. Instead of staying home idling, I will advise young people to come out and really take this lovely opportunity. Present moment, I have some sweet potatoes planted, looking at some tomatoes and cassava. I would advise anyone to come on board. As I said, it's a really great opportunity to produce some healthy food for the island. I want to thank the Ministry of Agriculture as well as the BADMC for this lovely opportunity.
Breaks down early, Saturday morning, city women, how they calling, singing, up for your breadfruit.
My name is Alvin Motley. I'm a participant of the feed program. I would like to thank the BADMC and the Ministry of Agriculture for giving me this opportunity. As a young farmer, I'm grateful for the opportunity where I have acquired a piece of land, where we have started to plant. You know, at this point in time, there's a lot of problems with non-communicable diseases, where we have a lot of people with diabetes, high blood pressure, and we need to encourage people to eat more vegetables. And once they're eating more vegetables, the healthier they would be. And this is a great opportunity for our young farmers, a young farmer as I am, who was recently retrenched in the program with a young child, and is grateful for this opportunity where that I can continue supporting my family at this point in time. I know at this time there's a lot of people out there that want to farm, but unfortunately they do not have any land to work. They are glad for that, will be glad for that opportunity. And through the feed program, I invite you to apply where that you can get a piece of land to work to help feed this nation, to help reduce the food import bill and make us more food secure in this great nation of Barbados.
Feed, creating jobs and strengthening food security. And trust me, those are only two persons. We have some women as well who are involved now in the program. They're coming on board, and many of them are interested in things like beekeeping, producing honey. I didn't even know a bottle of honey cost so much money. I always thought a bottle of honey cost about $3. I went in the supermarket and see honey, it's a small selling for $25 and $30. And a lot of this honey we are importing, which means that we are shipping out some of our foreign currency. So we have a lot of young industrious people who are coming on board with this feed program. I want to invite now Mr. Anthony Nichols, who I understand is a farmer. He will just say some brief remarks. Please welcome Mr. Anthony Phillips. Anthony Nichols, sorry.
Good evening, Honorable Prime Minister, Mayor Moore Motley, Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Indore, Permanent Secretary, Mr. Bascom, members of Cabinet, staff of various departments. It gives me great pleasure this evening to come here and speak to you all. I was trying to introduce a program similar to this since 1982. And I believe it was given to deaf ear. Some even went as far as tell me it's communism. But if it's communism, the part of communism that I like and the part I believe can work for Barbados. Right? Number one, my first order is farmers, government farmers, and the importers to meet and sit down and to talk to each other, come to an agreement. How will we reduce the food import bill? The importers already have the most of the market, so we can't leave them out. They're Barbadians, you don't expect them to lay down and die. So we got to bring them into the program, right? Number two, we should have a proper registration of farmers. You should know where a farm is, how much land is farming, we planting at any given time, right? Good. For example, sweet potatoes should be sold at the same price as English potatoes. If those farmers can grow them, ship them here and sell us at probably $1 a pound. I don't eat them, so I don't know the price, but I believe it's around $1 a pound. Why can't we grow them here and match them? We need the foreign exchange that we are shipping out. Understand? Good. It was a variety, number 26/7. Mr. Lennox will know about that. I believe we could cross that with another variety, a better tasting, because this gives a lot. I've gotten many years ago, I think this was 1987, I've gotten 50, 60 pounds per rod. But it's not a very sweet potato. The Europeans like it, but the Barbadians don't love it. So we can do some cross breeding. This belongs to the scientists. I don't know much about that, right? So if we can get that kind of yield, we can sell potato at 50 cents a pound, make more money than we're making now, right? Good. We need a drying facility to dry the onions and peanuts. We import a lot of peanuts, we should be growing them here. Sorry. Yeah, we need a drying facility to dry onions. We can grow onions year-round and peanuts, but we must have a drying facility during the rain time. I forgot to tell you, our English potatoes, as far as I remember, I planted them many years ago, and we can only grow them once a year, something between October and November on. Sweet potato we can grow all through the year. So that's something we should look at, right? The drying facility. We also need to give the extension officers some help. I know big and small farmers do feed wrong information to extension officers. Boy, I don't know. You are in business, or we are in business to make money. If you don't make money, you can't stay in business. So there's no point you can tell the extension officer, I got 2 acres of potatoes planted and you have 5. The extension officer should be able to drive. He ain't going to drive with a motor car, but if you got a 4-wheel drive vehicle, you can drive to the field, and if you got doubts, you can measure it. So they need assistance, either duty-free, I think it can only help the country, or cheap loans to buy 4-wheel drive vehicles, right? We also need help with the monkeys, the rats. The rats, you got to start and clean Barbados. When I was a little barefoot boy growing up, there in a place called the Spur in St. Joseph, the average fellow can get a piece of land unless he work at the plantation. Huh? And I feel we should get Barbados back there. The 700 million or what that we're paying for food imports, we need to cut it by 60 or 70. I'd be happier with 70%, which should be about $490 million, something like that. Again, dealing now with the sugar industry, we need to have some partnership. I don't have to call it a marriage, a love affair, or what, with the sugar industry. The cane farmers produce the sugar, and we get molasses. The rum producers take the molasses and make hundreds of thousands of dollars when the year comes. And the sugar farmer will soon be back in a position like in the 50s when he used to wait till the postman get a new uniform to get the old pants. You understand? We don't want that. So we need to sit down. If they refuse, we can look at, they don't got to go to sugar. We can look at some syrup because it's cheaper to produce syrup than to produce sugar. So we need, if they don't agree, to look at making wines, brandy, gin, or whiskey. That's it. Thanks to everybody.
You want him now? Come back, mister.
My experience in agriculture, my father had an acre of land on the same spot that he used to make sport with it. I was thrown out of school at age 14, not for bad behavior, but I had reached the age of 14 years. And I remained at home the first year after I leave school, and I took over the work in the land. My father had it run down to 14.5 tons of cane per year. That year I went up by 7. I got 21.5 tons. The next year I went to Highgate's factory in St. Andrew to learn trade. Good, so I was actually in farming. I would think from about 5 years old, I had planted cabbage to buy my school clothes. In 1973, I acquired a 2-acre piece of land at Sturgis. I remained there about 3 years, struggling. Marketing, a major problem. But BNC came along. Those days I was selling, remember in 1973, I was selling tomatoes at 15 cents a pound, and BMC came along and gave me 25 cents a pound, which did have. But money tight and money has to come from somewhere, so we don't want government subsidizing. We got to look around and see what people are earning. Look around and see what people are earning. The people who earn less consume more, in my opinion. I've seen that. They had a man named Mr. Waldron, very tall man, must be 7 feet. But he could dig 200 cane holes in a day. And then he didn't have no oven, he had a butt pot. And then he take 5 pounds of pork from one of the other workers at the plantation. And Mr. Waldron never make a mistake and bake it Saturday night. He didn't have none for dinner Sunday. But this is a man that could dig 200 cane holes in a day. He would come early, and then 9:30, he leave you and he go on to somebody else and dig another 100. He used to produce. Today, now, he still got a few of us producing, but we ain't able to buy the food. Look at rice. Look at cornmeal. We import both of them. A pound of potato for $4. If you got a family of 5, you may be able to buy half a pound of saltfish to cook, to make it tasty. But how many pounds of potato are you going to feed a family of 5 with? At least you want 10 pounds of potato. So 10 for is 40. You can buy a pound of rice, I don't know how much, maybe $2 or $1.50. So we need to reduce the price of food drastically. Some farmers won't agree with this, but I know you get $5 now, you get 2, then you get 3. But I know at the end of 12 months, you don't average $2 a pound. So we need to sit down and arrive at prices that are reasonable. We want people to live. We don't want people. I have never seen a dead consumer traveling in a hearse. When you see somebody traveling in a hearse, they don't consume anymore. Consumption is finished. So we want people to live. You understand? Live. Eat healthy and live. Right? But I can give some more experience. The piece of land I told you about I had at Sturgis, I sold it in 1976. Was to buy part who know a vineyard, like Mr. King and so on, know a vineyard. I had a gentleman there at the time, I think this year was 1976, named Mr. Compton Fraser. He was a surveyor. He had vineyard, pollard, and Fairfield for sale. So I sold Sturgis and some cows I had to buy Fairfield. Some people said, at least one young lady said to me, I can die in the almshouse. Now, I had 2 acres of land at Sturgis. Fairfield was 78.5 acres for $80,000. I stole Sturgis and then days with an unfinished house for $34,000. You understand? I don't buy a lot of horticulture, but I is a gambler. You understand? when I can look down the road and see that down there is clear, I will take a chance. If I see trouble, then I ain't going down there. Anyhow, I didn't get this land for a reason I don't know. A government change and late Tom Adams took over the estates. So I didn't get land. I went then and rent some from same Sturgis from a gentleman named Lewis Campbell. Some of y'all will know him, used to work agricultural engineer with the Caribbean Development Bank. The late Lewis Campbell, before he passed away now. I rent some from him. I bought some irrigation pipes and pump and things with some of the money. I went to the late Ronnie Smith and I bought, I believe this was Barbados' first library van to make a house. You understand? It's only me and I renting. I didn't hear about no renting. The line inside with plywood, I get the cabin to cut 4 windows in it and put in 4 louver windows in it. I put a bathtub and I use, if nature called, I used to use a bucket with sand, like a soldier. I lived there for 5 years. The first 5 was not successful. You know why it wasn't successful? I was trying to run a tractor plowing for me. I was trying to run a truck in construction, and I was working the land. Whichever I with was making money, and the other 2 eating it out. 1982 came, and I was driven in a corner. Had the truck, had the payment 3 months ahead, but still running arrears. And Mr. Granham, some of you all may know him from Barclays Bank, Mr. Mark Granham, he threatened me to sell the truck. I said, Mr. Granham, if you want it, come for it now. Because I had offered it to late George. George was about 2-3 weeks ago. Things were dead. Nobody wanted the truck. Anyhow, I tell you, look, if you hold on, you can get your money, you can get it in less time than rearrange. If you arrange a year, you can get it in 9 months. And I had a little irrigation from this rented land, and it kept working and working. But from January, about the 2nd week in January, to about 3 days before June finished, I didn't make 1 cent. Not 1 red cent. Every time they come, it glad, glad, glad. Last thing I had to do is sell a cow. I used to keep a few cows and I sold 1. Nice whole thing ever. My father came, I told him I want $800 for it. He said, boy, I can give you 7. I said, look, if you want this, you can pay 8 or you won't get it. Straight and forward. It ain't man and boy, and man and man. You understand? I called Mr. Lloyd Allen, late Lloyd Allen. He came up, he looked at it, he looked around, he said, man, I ain't gonna try to beat it down, it's worth the $800. I said, look, I don't want the cow, I want the money. That's why he set the price reasonable. So I got a piece of change. At that time, I only had 2 people employed. I got a piece of change, they kept on working. About 3-4 days before June finished, prices did so. Maybe the best carrots I've ever grown in my life. Out of a small area, slightly over 1/8 of an acre, I got 7,700 pounds of carrots out of that area. I paid off the bank, and that year I saved $20,000. Right? Between 82 and 87, I saved $100,000. Right? Still living in life, Van Oyten, no, I paying the rent. I approached shipping and trading at the time for a little plantation. They had named Strong Hope. It was Strong Hope and Ward Spring. When I saw, I think I offered $2,400 the acre roughly, can't quite remember. But when he saw that I would accept that price for Strong Hope, I tried to get a partnership. Peter Ward, Eric St. John, and a fellow named Kenneth Seeley died now from St. George. I tried to bring them in and let's take the whole Ward Spring and Strong Hope, which was about 333 acres, $720,000. But they were there till the morning to pay. You understand? When the morning to pay, they may turn up. So, and Mr. Burt Banfield, late Burt Banfield, was drilling me day after day to pay only $73,000. He nearly had me too. I decided one day I said, look, Mr. Banfield Eventing, we had a meeting with you. And you know who was interested in this part and who was interested in the next part. And I can't manage it. The bank ain't lend me all that money, and I can't manage it on my own. It's better that I have my $73,000 and don't get it than for you to pay my $73,000, which will be 10%, and still don't get it, and I back away. Okay? All right? My neighbor, Vernon Nichols, he had bought my Wilton plantation then. He offered me 85 acres at $2,500 an acre, which wasn't bad, but he had a problem. He wanted to take 6 or 7 of the workers that worked there for donkey years. He wanted to take over something called the support loan in them days, that money that they borrowed to grow the canes and couldn't pay back. And above all, he had 6 or so old trucks that was thrown in. He don't want to get any of the one trucks. So I tell you, no deal. I back away. Anyhow, I saw how things were going, and that was around 1984, I believe. In 1987, he get cut like in 30-acre lots, this, that. So I approached him again. The day I approached him, he called me Tony. He said, Tony, what you got in mind, man? What price you got in mind? I said, look, I got 2 prices in mind. Whichever you want, I'm going to pay you. Right? I got $4,000 an acre in mind. I got $3,500 an acre in mind. He said, look, we're $250 different. I got $3,750 in mind. I want you to take over some of the support loan, the portion of support loan to suit the 48 acres that I was buying from him. Anyhow, I check around and find out if you work, the support loan will be converted into grant over a period of years. And when I had that day straight, I went along, paid only 10% and moved forward. And that's where it's up to now. Right. So I advise anybody, don't get involved in anything that you don't love. You may see me and think I doing, or see I doing well, assume I doing well. But God created all skills, and God created all people. And you got to search for the skill that belong to you. If you search for the one that belong to you, you will make success. Don't, if I ride bicycle and you won't be a good bicycle rider, don't ride bicycle, ride a donkey. So thank everybody for listening, and that is my motion.
That was Mr. Anthony Nichols, the next Minister of Agriculture, and the next MC for the Pickety Crop Pulitzer Finals. Minister King, make that happen. Okay, that was some knowledge shared there by Mr. Anthony Nichols. Very interesting gentleman he is. At this time, I want to invite the Honorable Indarir, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, to deliver some remarks on behalf of the ministry.
I don't know, too tall to you. No? The Honorable Mayor Amo Motley, QC, MP, Prime Minister of Barbados, Mr. Terry Bascom, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, other Permanent Secretaries, Mr. Lennox Chandler, Chief Agriculture Officer, Mr. Manasseh King, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Miss Glendine Bartlett, CEO Acting, BADMC, Mr. Anthony Wood,
Chairman, BADMC, other members of the board of the BADMC, heads of departments and agencies under the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, representatives of the FAO, representative of ICA, representative of CARDI, staff of the Ministry of Agriculture and BADMC, specially invited guests, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Nichols. You are the man of the moment. One thing I can tell you that when I visited your farm, I saw clearly where your success came from, because the two things you told me, I was convinced that you were born not just for agriculture, but for business. You told me that the lands are so manicured because you chose to use chicken manure. And then you started to give me some percentages straight off the top that I couldn't even cope with. So I knew right there and then that I was speaking with a man who knew what he was doing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to address you at the launch of the Farmers Empowerment and Enfranchisement Drive. I am sure that, having heard me mention this feed program for several months, you would have sensed the passion and determination within me to see it become a reality. I do believe that this program will go a long way towards achieving the core objectives of my ministry to enhance food security, create employment, and reduce Barbados' burdensome food import bill. A project of this magnitude cannot be realized without the input of several technocrats and stakeholders. I therefore wish at the outset to express my sincere appreciation to the staff of the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and BADMC, the members of the Project Implementation Committee, and to all other key players for their dedication and hard work in the formulation of the policy framework for the establishment of the project program and the careful and detailed planning of its execution. Of course, there's more work to be done as the program is rolled out. I therefore look forward to their continued interest and commitment in making the feed program the flagship of the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and the agricultural sector in Barbados. Ladies and gentlemen, the feed program will embrace existing farmers, but perhaps more importantly, it seeks to attract new farmers, particularly the younger generation. Having reviewed the demographics of the applicants, I am pleased to report that some 56% of those farmers or potential farmers are under the age of 45 years old. This indeed is very heartening, for we are relying on that generation to further agriculture development and by extension the economic growth of Barbados. Let us not fool ourselves for one moment. Agriculture can be hard, physical work. But if young people can see agriculture as a creative and exciting career, where they can use mobile phone applications and other new technologies in farming activities, then their negative perception of agriculture can change. Every effort will certainly be made by BADMC, the managers of the program, as well as the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, to enhance the technical knowledge and resources of all participating farmers to generate or maintain their interests in agriculture. To this end, apart from being exposed to training in traditional crop husbandry and the rearing of small ruminants, the latest technologies in agriculture will be introduced, especially temperature-controlled greenhouses and containers and other climate-smart technologies. Training in plant disease control, pest and pesticide management, as well as in the most current methods of water harvesting and conservation, will go a long way in mitigating the hazards of climate change, particularly periods of drought or the other extreme, prolonged torrential rainfall. Of course, the ministry will continue to lend support to all farmers, even those outside the program, through its extension services and agricultural incentive scheme. I am also confident that the training and opportunities for successful feed participants to secure land and funding will assist and encourage them as they seek to develop their careers in agriculture. Indeed, our intention is not merely to increase agriculture production so as to make our countryside look green and flourishing, but also to develop a sustainable agricultural production and marketing system to boost economic and social development. In allocating farmers to land throughout the island, consideration will be given to the various soil types and topography of the land in order to determine the type of farming activity best suited for a particular area and thus maximize the benefits to be gained therefrom. In addition, planting schedules to be used in the program will be based on reliable market information so that farmers can be assured that there is a ready market for their produce. In this regard, the BADMC is already engaging with other government agencies and with the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association to ensure their involvement with the procurement of local commodities produced under the feed program. Ladies and gentlemen, in an effort to increase the land bank for farmers enrolled in the feed program, I am appealing to private landowners interested in leasing land to farmers under the program to approach the BADMC, which is willing to facilitate arrangements for contracts to be drawn up directly between the landowners and the farmers. In that way, farmers and landowners alike will benefit. We certainly need the support of the private sector in the development of the agricultural industry. It is my hope that business in the various communities will come together and provide funding for agricultural projects and enterprises, whether it be community gardening, where containers can be retrofitted, or other projects along the value chain. We are indeed in the process of making sure that a mapping exercise takes place around Barbados, especially within the urban corridors of Barbados, where farmers in places like St. Michael can indeed participate in this program through the use of freight farms and temperature control greenhouses. Ladies and gentlemen, the future for agriculture is bright. Ladies and gentlemen, we are breaking new ground. I've said to my chief agriculture officer on more than one time, if we are not bringing about change, we are stuck in the rut. And I am pleased to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that tonight marks the first step in making sure all of Barbados is aware of the transition in agriculture that is taking place. In closing, I wish to thank you for your support of the feed program and trust that you will encourage others, interested persons, to sign up for the program. I'm obliged to you. I thank you.
Thank you once again, the Honorable Indar Veer, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. This evening, the feature address will be delivered by our Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Amor Motley.
Thank you very much, Eric. Distinguished guests all, I am going to be very short this evening because I believe that you have had a feast of speeches and I don't want to do anything to distract from Mr. Nichols's exchange with us. On Wednesday, when I passed through Mount Wilton, I had cause on a site visit to visit him. And I asked him then if he would be prepared to come and share with us, because some 18 months or 2 years ago, I had the good fortune of spending about 3 hours with Mr. Nichols and understood then the passion which he has for agriculture. The only thing about my speech that is going to be featured this evening is to let you know that I've come to give the minister and all of his officials, the chairman of the BADMC and his board and all of his officials, the absolute assurance that all of the political will that I can muster in my body will be brought to bear to make a success of this and other initiatives in the Ministry of Agriculture. And I say so because you don't need a lot of long talk to know that we need to reduce the amount of foreign exchange that this country spends. And as Mr. Nichols said, we cannot afford to have a food import bill of $700 million odd dollars, 685 million to be precise, for 2018, of which vegetables and fruit account for just under 10% at $66 million roughly that we import every year. It is simply not good enough. And Barbadians can do better if we pull together and work together and use that old encouragement of one blow killing old cow. Every pound and every kilogram we can go after in terms of fruit and vegetables. But that's not the only part of it. The second part of it is that we need also to change how people eat. And I think we all know that how we eat determines how we feed our bodies. And this is as old as millennia, but the truth is sometimes we need to educate and re-educate. And to that extent, ironically this weekend I watched a wonderful documentary called The Magic Pill, which showed exactly how persons suffering from either diabetes or autism or other chronic non-communicable diseases were able to use changes in their diet in order to significantly reduce the amount of medication that they were forced to take and to improve their own prognosis in terms of their own medical well-being. And we have not to share that information simply in the heavy way, but the ministry has the luxury of Barbados' greatest communicator, in my view, Eric, in Beijing, to be able to help us communicate that to ordinary people. There are too many people eating English potato chips on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night in this country. There are too many people that can eat baked sweet potato instead, or can eat Edos, or can eat Edo chips that when cut and baked look the same as potato chips in crisp. There are so many things that we can do, and it hurts my heart to see that we are not making sufficient progress, family by family, individual by individual. And this now becomes the need for a partnership between the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Information, but using people who know how to communicate to the average Barbadian household. I maintain that one of the best pieces of literature produced by a Barbadian is a book called Pigtails and Breadfruit, written by one of our greatest authors, who is now deceased, Austin Tom Clark, and who was able in that book not only to communicate how to cook, but to do so in a way that told the story of who we are and how we were raised as a people. So it is trite for me to be able to discuss these things because you all know it and everyone else has said it. What makes the difference now is doing. And what makes the difference is scale. When Indar first brought this program to me, I asked him for one thing, and one thing alone, that the scale to which they were targeting could not bring about any change in behavior in this country. Recognizing that we are in a battle against climate change, recognizing that we are in a battle against trade wars, it is absolutely critical that Barbadians be able to take control of what they eat more and more. And that is why his ministry is called Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. I thank you, Minister, and the former minister. This is what a case of getting two for the price of one. For both ensuring that the object of the ministry, the goal of the ministry with respect to food security can be turned from an objective and indeed a noun to a verb. Because if we can act, if we can do, then we can feed and not just talk about food. And if we can feed by producing ourselves, then we reduce the foreign exchange, we provide jobs, we produce food that improves our health, and we end up also creating the basis and platform for wealth, as you have heard from Mr. Nichols. Why is Mr. Nichols' story important? Because we need to start telling our young people that history is not always in a straight line, nor is success, and that there will always be obstacles, whether you are a lawyer or a farmer, whether you are a vendor or a fisherman, that life throws obstacles, that life throws hurdles at us. But it is how we respond to the hurdles and how we respond to the obstacles that makes the defining difference between success and failure. We are here to help train our people, to help provide access to the financing, whether through direct loans or lease to own, as we will with the container farms. And we are here also to be able to pool the heavy costs, particularly carried by heavy machinery, where individual farmers may not be able to buy their own, as we know traditionally, but they can have access to a pooled set of equipment to be able to make that definable difference. But all of this will only produce results, Woody, if we are capable, as you correctly said, of ensuring that there is a market, and a market is both, one, about interest from the people who want to buy and eat, and two, the capacity to be able to deliver in a timely way, in a manner that is attractive and in a manner that is affordable. We believe we have the elements to make that change. It is up to the rest of Barbados to join us on this journey. And I ask you, Minister, all that is shared here, let it not be with a few hundred people at Sunbury, but let this now be the mission of a country to take control of its health, to take control of its prosperity, and to take control of its economic well-being at the same time. And in so doing, to make better society by stronger people and giving people options for living. I thank the Minister and once again the Chairman for accepting the challenge of making sure that the people who will be on the front line of this program will be those who have already borne the adjustment of what Barbados has had to bear from a last lost decade. And I ask those of us to work with them, because when I said to the country in October last year that we are going to work with you to give you the chance through agriculture or through digitization or through other opportunities in economic empowerment and entrepreneurship, I meant it. And if I have to work every single day to make sure that we create the platform for those who are carrying the adjustment for a grateful nation, I shall do so. And I thank the Ministry of Agriculture for allowing me to hold faith and to keep the promise to the people of this country. Thank you and God bless.
That was our beloved Prime Minister, the Honorable Mayor Amor Motley, and we thank you again. Well, that brings us to the end of the ceremony. I want to thank everyone for coming here this evening and sharing this historic moment with us. I want to thank all those persons who worked behind the scenes to bring this launch to fruition. And we are going to break now for some cocktails. The Honorable Prime Minister and our Minister, Permanent Secretary, you're welcome to join the cocktail party over in the arena outside there. And then the other people will be welcome to join the cabinet and as well as the Prime Minister. Thank you again. Have a very good evening.